Yo, 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 what's going on, everybody? I don't think I'm gonna wait. Oops. I don't think I'm gonna wait for anybody to hop in. I'm just gonna go ahead and take off, man. I was gonna eat and do the live, but I don't think that's gonna work out too great. So I'm probably just gonna let my food get cold and talk about being sentenced to life in prison. Obviously, myself, I've never been sentenced to life. I can't even imagine what it's like, to be sentenced to life in prison, because it's never happened to me. The most time I was ever facing was 66 years. And of course, that's a lot of time. And out of that bid was my last bid. I got sentenced to 9 years. The 66 years was max. But obviously, being in prison three times and doing over 12 years in prison, I definitely did time with a lot of lifers. And not just did I do time, but I have a lot of close friends and some people like brothers that are closer than family who have life sentences. So just doing years with them and growing up in the chain gang. And a lot of times I was housed with lifers, just because, especially my last bid. Well, actually, not my second and my third bid, because I went to work at least my first bid, and I left work early. I went to the beach. If you don't know what work release is, that's whenever you go to a facility that's minimum security. It's still prison. You're still in prison, but they let you leave with an ankle monitor. But back then, they didn't have ankle monitors. They let you leave to go work in the community, save money, to take half your check, and you can only go like 19 months or less at the end of your sentence. So you can help transition back in society, save you up some money, and help you get back adjusted to culture by going to these work release centers. So whenever I went to work, I left work, which is deviation, and I went to the beach, which caused me to obviously get kicked out of work at least because I got caught, and they sent me back to prison. But because of that, they gave me an escape DR. And even though I didn't escape, I didn't leave the facility, they allowed me to leave. It's supposed to be a deviation DR, but because it's the police, they can do whatever they want. They gave me an escape DR. And what that did was that took my custody to close. So I immediately went back to prison. This is my first time I went back to prison, and I was a YO, which is I was at JIT camp, which is 25 and under. But I had maybe 6 months left, and they sent me to an adult camp, which I was happy to be back to go to an adult camp because JIT camp is insane. Adult camps are known for being more laid back. But they put me right in a T building, which is 2 men cells, and it was the Hamilton in Florida. So when I get off the bus, I'm a JIT. I'm like 19, I think, maybe 20. And the police pulls up on me, the officer. He's like, yo, JIT. He's like, you know where you going, right? I said, yeah, I do. And he goes, that's like he's like, you got a life sentence? I was like, nah. He's like, well, that's like the life of dorm, right? I'm like, bro, I don't care, dog. I just came from JIT camp. I was at the river in like the city. Like, bro, like I'm glad to be at the adult camp. So anyways, my roommate, he had 30 years. My other homie living right next to me, Marcus Cray, my dog. Shout out to my homie Marcus, man. He was sentenced to life. And on and on and on. I can continue to share guys' stories who have been sentenced, to life in prison. And dog, like, someone was asking me the other day, I think I did a podcast interview with another podcast, and they were asking me about what's going on. Greetings from Russia. What's going on, fam? Can you send me $5, please, man? Drop the cash app, bro. I might just bless you, Brody. Drop the cash app. So I was asked during this interview as far as like people who are sentenced to life, like how do they move throughout prison? And that's like a multi-layered question. Not one person, responds to the same situation, the same. Everybody responds differently. But I kind of broke it up into like two people groups. Some people, dog, like you can just see it on their face, bro. And I think everybody, just like in life, man, it goes through waves and seasons. Sometimes you get to see it on people's faces. They always got a unit on. Pissed, angry, don't want to be messed with, extremely violent. If it comes down to it, don't got nothing to lose, lost all hope, and they just pretty much gave up. And that's how some people who have been sentenced to life can respond. But then you got other people too, bro, like who you would never even knew had a life sentence because they're always laughing, they're always clowning, They're making the best of their, incarceration. And even if they're not even fighting their case, like they exhausted all remedies, they lost all appeals, and they've come to terms with the fact that they've been sentenced to life and they're content. But then, like, the best people group who have been sentenced to life, from my experience, people who respond the most mature, I would say the healthiest, are obviously brothers or sisters who are in Christ, and they understand that even though they've been sentenced to life because of the past crimes that they committed, they found purpose through faith in Jesus while in the midst of the incarceration. And their life sentence has become a life service, empowering other people, proclaiming the gospel, making disciples, and helping people who are getting out transition home. But even like my homies who are in Christ, who are grinding for the kingdom, you know what I mean? Whenever they're down, it's like, bro, you ever tell? I'm trying to read some of these comments, man. Let me answer some of these questions. 1 to 10, how racist are you? I'm not racist. My children are mixed. I don't see color, Brody. From Boston, you better food when it gets cold. Caleb Dayton, Bleach, Super T-Board. What's poppin', everybody? How y'all doing? All right, back to the story, man. Back to the story. All right, so even like I was saying, my dogs who do have a healthy perspective and have been sentenced to life, of course, bro, it weighs in on them at times, dog. Like, I remember that whenever I was talking about at the beginning, when I got sent back from work, at least, and I went to that lifer dorm, my roommate, my cellie, he had 30 years. And I think he swore up and down that he was sentenced for armed robbery. And I think it was his third time going to prison, so they PR'd him. And I think, yeah, PR'd him. So they gave him 30 years. And anyways, dog, like that obviously, rocked his world. And then I remember the day I went home. Listen, the morning I went home, like not even the morning I went home, even a couple of days before going home. Me and my celly, we talked all the time. We worked out together. He was cool. We were straight. We weren't like best friends, but we were cool. We lived together. We worked out together. We ate together. But I noticed like the week I was going home, he stopped talking to me. And just his body language and his demeanor changed. He was kind of like being a little rude, and just like his body language and his facial expressions, I felt like he felt some type of way. And I knew it was because I was going home. But really, let me get the food out of here so y'all stop crowning me. All right, so the morning I was going home, listen, he didn't even say one word to me. Didn't even, oh, he did dap me up. Let me take that back. He did tap me up. You know what I mean? He said, all right, bro, be easy. But that's literally all he said. Like the whole dorm was pulling up on me, like wishing me the best, you know what I mean? Like sending me off, at least all the people that I mess with and most of the dorm. But he didn't even speak to me. He looked so mad. But then I could just really see in his eyes, too, like he had tears in his eyes. And that's when I was like, dang, like I felt bad for him, because him seeing me go home was a reminder to him that he might die in prison. So that was kind of like an inside look, even though I could never relate to those who have been sentenced to life. It kind of like, people can respond differently. You know what I mean? Because that's why you hear the saying, like, never tell nobody how much time you got. And I think that's kind of like an old chain gang myth. You know what I mean? Because like back in the day, I think you would hear about like these lifers or people who got a lot of time. And if you're a short timer, you about to get out, you know what I mean? They'll try to crash you out or set you up or do something so you don't make it to your date. Much of that, I think I have seen people like crash people who are about to go home, but I really don't think it was about them getting out. It was more so behind some type of politics that they were involved in while they were doing time. But a side note, I think another crazy, this is like a random thought that came to my mind. I seen the dude who was going home. He did a 10-piece, dog. He did 10 years. The morning he was going home. Excuse me, it wasn't the morning he was going. The night before. It was the night before he was going home. He was about to stab somebody in front of everybody in the day room over the water fountain because the Chico had bucked him in line for the hot water. And he didn't even intend to. The guy who bucked him, it was like unintentional. The guy who was going home in the morning set his cup up on the hot water fountain and was running the hot water for the water to get hot. That's what you got to do for the water to get hot. And it's like, chain gang custom and law. Whenever you put your, cup on the water fountain, you're holding your spot. If the water's running, you don't like take the water. You pretty much bucking the line. You got to let the water get hot, and you're waiting in line till he gets his hot water. So the dude had the hot water running. He had his cup up there, and the Chico looking around, he didn't see nobody, so he got some hot water, and for some reason, the dude just snapped. I just really think he was probably scared of going home, and he kind of had like maybe a subconscious, self-destructive, reflex. So he seen the dude walk away from the water fountain and take the hot water, and apparently when he came back, the water wasn't that hot, so he took it out on the Chico, and he snapped and selling them out, and they're arguing. Well, the Chico, because he's older and he really didn't understand that much English, he grabbed his knife, you know what I mean? Like kind of quietly and strapped up just in case, you know what I mean? Something popped off. And when the guy seen it, then he's that nutted up. He's like, what? You want to grab your sword? Da, da, da. And now he's trying to crash out and wet this guy up in the middle of the day room. And everybody's like, yo, chill, bro. You go home in the morning. Chill. What are you doing? It took the whole dorm to like break it up. And the Chico didn't want to do nothing anyway. He was just trying to protect himself. He's an older guy. But of course, he's going to protect himself. So everybody's like, dog, you go home in the morning. That was a side note. I don't know where that came from. But back to the topic of people who have been sentenced to life. But not only, do people respond differently, but I also seen a gang of people overturn their life sentences. I seen so many people give back their life sentences. I'm actually editing episode. It's dropping tomorrow. My dog Craig, he'll be talking about how he was sentenced to life for armed trafficking. He got pulled over with an AR-15 and some dope. And he was sentenced to life. And he gave back his life sentence. And he'll be sharing about, just the story of him giving back his life sentence, how he felt when he was sentenced to life, and how, he was able to give it back, and now he's free. But I've definitely seen a lot of people, man, come back and overturn their life sentences. Probably one of the saddest stories, man, I seen personally. I did time with this guy at 2 different prisons. And when I was with him at one prison, we were together at, where we at, Swanee. We were at Swanee together. He was in food service with me. He was a chef. He had a life sentence. And while we were together there, he was sentenced to life. I knew that. We were like acquaintances. We talk every once in a while. I worked in food service too. I was a butcher man. So he would come to the freezer to get, meat, obviously, every day for all his meals. He was a cook. So we just talk at work and all that. But then I get transferred a couple years later. He gets transferred. I'm at Columbia CI, and he gets transferred there too. We're not in the same dorm, but I see him on the pound. I'm like, Smoke, what's good? So we catch up. And the first thing he says when he see me, he said, dog, I gave back my life sentence, dog. I gave my time back. I gave my time back. And he's just lit, so I'm happy for him. We dap up. I'm celebrating with them. And I think he just came back from court, and he's super excited. Dog, tell me why Smoke died like 2 months after that. K2, twack, for those who know what it is, that spice, that synthetic dope, which is crazy, killing people in the chain gang. It's a freaking epidemic. I got episodes on it. I'll go on my playlist, check it out. So anyways, he went to confinement, and there is this batch of dope on the pound. It was called Black. And they called it Black. It was short for because they called it Black Death, because apparently they were smoking, it was black, and the chemical was way too potent, and it literally killed 8 people in 1 month. 8 people in 1 month, bro, and that's facts. It was dropping people like flies. And the crazy thing about it, the junkies were chasing that. They wanted that dope even more because how potent it was. Crazy. So anyways, Smoke had went to confinement, and he smoked. So while he was back in confinement, he was smoking that Black, the twack, and he choked to death on his throw up and died. Bro was going home in 2 years. I think he was down for like 15. Had a life sentence, gave it back, was about to go home in 2 years. I think they like settled at 20 or something like that. And that's just sad, dog. So anyways, I'm just rambling, random thoughts. I'm gonna start trying to go live every day. So listen, man, new episodes coming on the way. A whole bunch of fire content. If you have not subscribe to this channel, The Incarceration Podcast. Like the videos, comment, share your prison stories. If you've ever been incarcerated, forever convict family. Listen, email me if you want to do a virtual Zoom. I can interview about your prison or jail stories. Email me at eithekingbooking at gmail.com. King, K-I-N-G, booking, B-O-O-K-I-N-G at Gmail. And then we can, interview through via Zoom, or if you're in Florida, or if I'm in a state that you're in while I'm traveling, we'll pull up on you interview you in person. And we'll just continue to champion the underdog stories, man. That's why we champion Forever Convict. We, of course, we're ashamed of the past crimes that we committed, but, throughout our incarceration and the Lord choosing to use that to transform our lives, man, I'll never be ashamed of that, because the Lord used those 12 years in prison, everything that I experienced in my life, to transform me and make me who I am today. So Forever Convict. Well, I was gonna say one more thing. I forget. Oh yeah. Life Sentence is also a title of a track that I released on my last EP called Forever Convict. If you don't know, I am a rapper. My artist name is EI the King, and Life Sentence is probably my favorite released song to date right now, and it's dedicated to those who have been sentenced to life. It's on all platforms: Apple, Spotify, everything. Check it out. John, what's going on, Brody? I see you, my G. I'ma tap in, bro. It's crazy how you can keep that. Hey, what's going on, my G? Yes, sir. Yeah, John, you ain't know I'm a rapper, dog? Yeah, rap, man. That's my main thing, dog. I'm tap in right after this. All right, listen, man. Love y'all. Y'all tap in. Y'all stay encouraged. And Forever Convict, man.